Hello, and welcome to the series on Old Albanian. My name is Brian Joseph, and I am a professor of linguistics at The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, in the USA. I'm a historical linguist. I work primarily on the history of Greek and the history of Albanian and the languages of the Balkans and their interrelationships among them. And how about you?
My name is Michiel de Vaan. I teach historical linguistics at the University of Lausanne and at other Swiss universities. And Albanian is among my favorite languages.
Mine too. Together we will lead you through the fascinating world of Albanian linguistics with a focus on Old Albanian. I will now leave the floor to you, Michiel.
Thank you, Brian. In this video, we will give you a general introduction to the external history of the Albanian language. Let's start by having a look at the roadmap. We will first discuss the modern-day spread of Albanian. Going back in time, we will then look at Albanian in the Middle Ages and Albanian in antiquity. We will look at the two different names that exist for the country, Albania and Shqipëria, and draw some conclusions. First, on the modern spread of Albanian. Modern Standard Albanian is the official language in the Republic of Albania and in Kosovo. It is also one of the two official languages in the Republic of North Macedonia. Older Albanophone communities are found in the direct vicinity of Albania and Kosovo, such as Greece, southern Italy, Montenegro, Serbia and Croatia, as well as in Bulgaria, Ukraine, Turkey and Romania. More recently formed diaspora communities can be found in Italy, Greece, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, the UK, the US, and in many other countries. Let's have a look at the map of the modern spread of Albanian. This map shows the main areas in southern Europe where Albanian is or was spoken before 1900. The different colors indicate different dialect groups, which will not concern us now. As you can see, Albania takes up all of Albania and of Kosovo and the northwestern part of North Macedonia. Furthermore, Albanian dialects were spoken in central Greece, and a larger number of Albanian-speaking villages still exists in southern Italy. Here is a table with the periodization of Albania, as it is used in historical linguistics. We start with the Proto-Indo-European parent language around the 4th millennium BC, from which several millennia later a daughter language had survived, which we call pre-Proto-Albanian, over here. This is defined by being a language stage that predated the influence of Latin on Albanian. This Latin influence is rendered by the arrow entering our tree from the left, over here. At the end of antiquity, we can postulate the existence of Proto-Albanian, which is defined as the common language stage from which all later Albanian dialects descend. Proto-Albanian. Those dialects come in two varieties, Geg and Tosk. The modern standard language is mainly based on Tosk dialects, as this line shows, but with some influence from Geg dialects too, as shown by this line. We move on to Albanian in the Middle Ages. Our first coherent texts in Albanian stem from the 16th century. Therefore, we can only give estimates for the dates that apply to Albanian in the Middle Ages. The split of Proto-Albanian into Geg and Tosk is due to one or more innovations on the Tosk side. During part of the Middle Ages, Albanian was also in linguistic contact with South Slavic languages, beginning with the Slavic invasions of the Balkans after 600. Among other things, Slavic words are very present in place names in the area. From the end of the 14th century, the Ottoman Turks start their conquest of the Balkans, including, famously, of Albania. And from that moment on until the early 20th century, the Albanian vocabulary is heavily influenced by Turkish. In the wake of the Turkish conquest, and maybe in combination with other factors, southern Albanians migrated to Greece from the 14th century and to Italy from the 15th century, and established diaspora communities which partly still survive today. We now move on to Albanian in antiquity. The Roman conquest of the Balkans officially begins in 167 BC. The Latin language that was spoken on the Balkans in the first centuries AD can be called Balkan Latin or Balkan Romance. It has endowed Albanian with hundreds of Latin loanwords. Balkan Latin ultimately became the source of the Romanian language, which is now the official language of Romania and Moldavia, and is found in other so-called A-Romanian languages in various regions of the Balkans. And it has become the source of Dalmatian Romance, spoken along the coast of the Adriatic Sea, which died out in the 20th century. Have a look at the map and the picture on this slide. The heavy influence of Latin on Proto-Albanian has its implications for the question where the latter was spoken in antiquity. In 1911, the Czech scholar Konstantin Jireček established an isogloss between the main areas in which either Latin or Greek were used as the main languages in local inscriptions, and hence where Latin or Greek may be regarded as the main contact languages for indigenous languages such as Proto-Albanian. There is no guarantee that the yellow line on the map, this one here, really corresponded to a language border on the ground, but still chances are that Proto-Albanian was mainly located north of Jireček's isogloss. Now we turn to the Romanian question. As we will see in another video, there are specific similarities in the lexicon of Albanian and Romanian that suggest that during the Roman era, or not long after it, the Proto-Albanians lived next to or among the Latin speakers that gave birth to Romanian. The shaded oval on the map, this one here, which roughly covers the area of modern Kosovo, is a good candidate for the location of the Proto-Romanian homeland in the 6th to 9th centuries. This means that Proto-Albanian too may have been spoken in or close to this area at the time. Now we have a map of the pre-Roman Balkan languages. This map gives you the approximate location of several Balkan languages spoken in the area before Hellenistic Greek and Latin became widespread. In northern Albania and part of Dalmatia, the Illyrians were located. In present-day Romania, we find the Dacians, and in modern Bulgaria, the Thracians. The Greek peninsula, of course, spoke Greek. Finally, in the southeastern tip of Italy, modern-day Salento, the Messapic language was spoken. Over here. Linguistically, none of these languages can be claimed to have been the ancestor of Albanian. Greek, of course, we know all too well. And in the case of the other languages, we simply do not know what their grammar or vocabulary was. I will now leave the stage to my colleague Brian Joseph for the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Michiel. Let me start by discussing some ways in which Albanian seems somewhat exotic within the field of Indo-European studies. First, there is its rather late attestation. As noted in Michiel's introductory remarks, the language is attested first only in the 15th century, placing it very late within the range of dates of attestation for the Indo-European languages more generally. Second, Albanian society, especially in the north, is sometimes described as being a tribal, or perhaps better, tribal-like society, with great importance placed on one's fis, or clan. Also, much of Albanian behavior, again, especially in the north, has been governed for centuries by a code of law known as the kanun that regulates ways in which people interact with one another, including the treatment of guests, the way one treats other people's property, and so on. Moreover, during a good part of the 20th century, Albania was an almost totally closed country. This was under the communist regime from 1946 to 1992, when the country was led by Enver Hoxha. This was also a period of great expansion of scholarship within Indo-European studies in general, but that expansion took place without much access to Albanian as a living language. One remnant of Hoxha's era is a large number of cement defensive bunkers that he had built around the country based on his belief that Albania could come under attack at any moment, so he wanted to be prepared. The result is these bunkers scattered all around fields, on hillsides, and at similar points. They look something like this, and their presence in the countryside gives an exotic feel to the country when one sees it now that it is open to outsiders. Another aspect of Albanian that is somewhat exotic is the alphabet. The modern alphabet, the orthography that's used, looks very familiar because a variety of the Latin alphabet is used, but with some unusual combinations of letters. There are 36 letters, and you can see some that are a bit unusual from the perspective of the languages that are more familiar to us from Western Europe especially. This is the alphabetical order for the letters of the alphabet. I'd like to turn now to the ethnonyms that are used for Albania itself. The name Albania goes back to the Middle Ages and is derived from the tribe of the Albanoi, who were mentioned by Ptolemy in the 2nd century BC. Not only the Albanoi, but also their town of Albanopoulos, of which the exact location remains unknown. At some point, Alban became Arban in most sources. We'll discuss the reason for that in just a moment. And that gave rise to the Greek term Arbanoi or Arbanitai for the inhabitants, and to the adjective Arbanensis for the name of Albanian immigrants to Italy, which we find in the term today Arboresh, and to the country name Arbani. With the metathesis, which we'll discuss in a moment, of Al to La, the name was retained in Labaria, the region in southern Albania. The change of Alb to Arb shows the effects of a Greek sound change, and the Lab forms show the effects of a Slavic metathesis with liquids, which tells us that these forms must have been taken into Greek and Slavic, changed by those sound changes, and then re-borrowed back into Albanian. We turn now to the second ethnonym, the stem Shtip. Around 1700, the stem Arban was abandoned by speakers in Albania and Kosovo and exchanged, as it were, for the word Shtip for the language, and Shtipni and Shtipri for the country. We also find Shtiptar for an Albanian. Now, the word Shtip originally meant clearly, or loud and clear. This means that the word Shtip had shifted its meaning from clearly to understandable, and that the Albanians more or less called themselves we who speak understandably, we who speak clearly. This kind of naming for a language is usually given in a situation of contrast with speakers of other languages, in this case, for instance, Greek, Italian, or Turkish. This table shows the meaning of some of the early attested forms of the word Shtip in different Old Albanian authors. And the shift to the meaning Albanian took place in the after 1685, as we see here. Note that the meaning civilized in Dalece's dictionary from 1702 is a specialization of the earlier meaning clear. This first attestation comes in 1555 in Buzuku's book, the Meshari. It instructs the priest to recite the Our Father prayer loud and clear. Embas andai thuo prift paternoster ci vien me thashen Shtip, with clearly, loud and clear, as the adverb modifying how he is to say it. Now, the etymology of Shtip, this is based on work by Eric Hamp, is first of all rooted in an ideology of clarity and of speaking and us versus them, as it were. It's an adverb, but interestingly, it never has the adverbial suffix isht. It's never shtipisht. It's only, like other languages such as Anglisht or Turcisht, it's always shtip. There are derivatives that show the meaning of clearly and rather straightforwardly. For instance, shtipoi, to say clearly, and shtiptoi, to enunciate. The ultimate source is a Latin form excipare, which is a derivative of excipere, to pull or tease out. So it originally meant to take out meaning, and we can compare the English word gather as which means understand, but has the sense of taking in. There may have been influence from other Latin words such as explicare, to explicate, or excerptum, extract, as in an extract from a text. So in origin, as we've noted, the term meant to speak clearly, to speak understandably, and from there to speak our language and as opposed to your language, a different language. And so in essence, it's an ethno-linguistic label. By way of concluding, we can say that we know the linguistic ingredients of the Albanian language, but we do not know who spoke it, and we hardly know where it was spoken before the first written documents. The people living in what is now Albania probably changed their name and their language several times in the last millennia, as has happened in most other regions of Europe. We conclude with a welcome, another kind of welcome. This is a sign that greets you at the Albanian border between Albania and Greece. And we welcome you to Albania and to Albanian. This concludes our first introductory video on Albanian. As the Albanians would say, Falemderit për vëmendjen tuaj. We thank you for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you in the next installment.